And for more on what that 49ers offense may look like in 2017, let's bring in the pride of Lakewood, Ohio. Terry Garr's got nothing on Brian Hoyer. Go Sparty. What's happening, Brian? How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Now, you are not unfamiliar with what it is like to be coached by Kyle Shanahan, to have plays called by Kyle Shanahan. What can you tell us about your head coach?
Yeah, well, I think, for me going into free agency, when I had the opportunity to reunite with Kyle, it was something that I didn't want to pass up. We played that one season together in Cleveland. And, for the better part of the year, we were a top 10 offense. I saw you guys mention, Carlos Hyde fitting in the system. Look, Kyle does a great job of setting up the run game and then using that to set up everything else. And it was fun for me to watch him the last 2 years in Atlanta. So to have that opportunity to play for him again, it was something that, I didn't really want to miss out on.
Brian, listen, I know how you grew up in this league, the growth and where you come from. Have you seen something different in Kyle this year, and just from the schematic standpoint of how he's calling plays and the timing and rhythm in which he's calling? Because last year, I would say, this year on tape just looked totally different to me, week to week, in the sense of a true game plan.
Yeah, well, I'm just getting into, watching some of their film from last year and everything. And you can just see, with, like you mentioned, the weapons that he had there in Atlanta with Julio and Devonta Freeman and, all the running backs, everything. He was able to expand it, to the point where it was a lot of plays that we weren't even running in Cleveland when I was there with them. So, it was such an explosive offense. I think really any offense led by him has always been that way. So it just gives you a lot of options, and he does his work. He knows how to get guys open and where to go with the ball. And then, you just give it to the playmakers and let them, do what they can with it.
So obviously I brought up that they set a record number of different pass catchers with Matt Ryan. Are you going to break that record this year? Different pass catchers for touchdowns?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm looking forward to get out there and start working. I got to meet some of the guys that also got signed when I was there. Pierre Garçon, Marquise Goodwin, Kyle Juszczyk. I think he'll be huge in this system. Heath, you'll appreciate that. He's kind of a fullback that can do it all. We don't even really, at the press conference, they called him offensive weapon. He's a guy who can, split out, make the defense declare, and then, bring him back in and either give him the ball, get him out in the pass game. I think he'll be huge in the system.
Brian, it's one thing to set a record for completing a touchdown pass to the most receivers in a single season, but throughout the course of your career, a lot of fight songs, and you're expected to step in and develop a relationship with receivers. We hear that can take time. We just saw last year you had a great run while you were healthy in Chicago. How long does it take for a quarterback and a receiver to develop something together where you are comfortable on the field?
Well, yeah, that's what the offseason is all about, where you have phase one, and then you get into your OTAs and then mini camp, and then you hope you get some kind of work together in between that mini camp and training camp. And then once training camp rolls around, you better be pretty close. Obviously, there's going to be the nuances you work on, and you get a lot of reps, day after day. But it's really the off season when you build that chemistry. And I think for me, having played in this offense, to have a guy like Pierre Garçon who played in this offense as well, who's a tremendous playmaker, that'll really help everybody else, because we can go in as leaders of this offense and, try to help everybody along as we go and say, look, we've played this play before. This is how we see it. And I think that'll really be huge for us.
Brian, last question here, buddy. Jed York hiring John Lynch. It took a lot of heat, most of it negative, which somewhat surprised me, I guess, lack of experience. Your dealings with John through the course of this signing process and the grooming and the recruiting process, walk us through that.
Yeah, well, I've met John several times because of him calling a few of my games. And you can always tell when you sit down in these production meetings, some of these guys, they kind of just throw it out there. And John was very precise. You could tell he'd been watching film. He's talking about specific plays. So that always kind of struck me. And then when you see him get hired, for me as a player, I love it, because it's a guy who's been in my shoes, knows what, the daily grind is, the day, day in, day out. And then I finally get a chance to go out there and meet him as my GM. And, just to see the passion, the excitement that he brings, he's really excited about it. And I think that kind of trickles down. And when you talk to him and Kyle together, you can see that they have a singular vision for where they want to take the 49ers. And, I'm just grateful that they chose me to be a part of it.
Well, I see he's got the Nike golf cap on, so maybe a membership at the Olympic Club is in his future as he makes his way to San Francisco. Congratulations on the signing,
Congrats.
Brian. We very much look forward to seeing you play for Kyle Shanahan and those 49ers in the future. You can follow him on Twitter at bhoyer7. Brian, thanks so much.
All right, thanks, guys.